My name is Ethan, and for most of my life, I believed I knew exactly who I was. I believed I knew where I came from. I believed I knew my family. I believed I knew my place in the world. That belief lasted 27 years. And then it ended because of something I did for fun. I didn't grow up in chaos. I didn't grow up with screaming parents or broken homes. My childhood was quiet, predictable, safe. My father, Mark, was the kind of man people respected without him ever asking for it. He worked long hours, spoke little, and believed that being present mattered more than being loud. My mother, Linda, was warm in a careful way. She smiled often. She remembered birthdays. She never forgot to say, "I love you." We weren't rich, but we were stable. And in my mind, that was everything. People used to say I looked just like my dad. Same brown eyes, same straight nose, same serious expression when I focused. Every time someone said it, my dad would smile just a little and nod. I never questioned it. Why would I? The idea of taking a DNA test never came from suspicion. It didn't come from doubt. It didn't come from some deep feeling that something was wrong. It came from a joke, a birthday joke. On my 27th birthday, my girlfriend Rachel handed me a small box. She was smiling the way she did when she thought she was being clever. "It's not what you think," she said. Inside the box was a DNA test kit. I laughed. "A DNA test?" I asked. "What am I supposed to find out? That I'm secretly royal?" Rachel shrugged. "I don't know," she said. "It's fun. Everyone's doing it. You might be part Irish, or Italian, or something cool. Something cool." That's how harmless it felt. We joked about it for the rest of the night. I imagined boring results, mostly European. Maybe a surprise percentage from somewhere unexpected. Nothing dramatic. Nothing life-changing. A week later, I sent the sample. I didn't tell my parents. Not because I was hiding it, but because it didn't seem important. It was like taking a personality test, or checking your horoscope. Something you forget about the moment you do it. Life went on. Work, gym, weekends with Rachel, Sunday dinners at my parents' house. Normal, comfortably normal. The email came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting at my desk, half listening to a meeting, when my phone buzzed. "Your DNA results are ready." I smiled to myself. Perfect timing, I thought. Something to distract me from another boring workday. I didn't open it right away. I waited until I got home. Rachel was in the kitchen when I walked in. "They came," I said casually. She turned, excited. "Already? Open it." I sat on the couch, opened my laptop, logged in, still smiling. The first thing I saw was the ethnicity breakdown, and just like I expected, nothing dramatic. Mostly Northern European. A few small percentages scattered around. Rachel leaned over my shoulder. "See?" she said. "Boring." I nodded. And that should have been the end of it. But then I scrolled down, and that's when I saw it. A section titled, "DNA Matches." Under it, one name was highlighted. Not a distant cousin. Not a second or third connection. A close family match. Marked clearly. Predicted relationship. Parent. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. I laughed, actually. "That's weird," I said. "It must be a glitch." Rachel didn't laugh. She leaned closer to the screen. "What do you mean, parent?" she asked. I clicked on it. The screen refreshed, and then I saw the number. 0% shared DNA. The room felt smaller, quieter, like the sound had been turned down on the world. I stared at the screen, waiting for it to change. Didn't. I refreshed the page. Same result. I logged out, logged back in. Same result. I closed the laptop completely, opened it again. Same result. Rachel sat down next to me. "Ethan," she said slowly, "that doesn't make sense." I swallowed. "It does," I said. "It just doesn't make sense the way we want it to." According to the test, the man listed as my father shared no DNA with me. None. Zero. My first instinct wasn't panic. It was denial. This kind of thing doesn't happen to people like me. People with normal childhoods. People with family dinners and old photo albums. People who never suspected anything. "There has to be a mistake," I said. Rachel nodded too quickly. "Yeah, of course. These things mess up all the time, right?" But neither of us believed that. Not really. I went to bed that night without saying much. Rachel tried to talk. Couldn't. My mind kept replaying one thought over and over again. If this is wrong, it's a glitch. If this is right, my entire life is a lie. I didn't sleep. Every memory started to feel suspicious. My dad being quiet. My mom changing the subject sometimes. The way family stories never went too far back. Things I had never questioned before. Things that now felt heavier. The next morning, I checked the results again. Still there. Still unchanged. Still impossible to ignore. I called the testing company. They were polite, professional. They told me the same thing 3 times. The probability of error at that level is extremely low. Extremely low. Not impossible, but close enough to terrifying. I hung up, sat in my car, and stared at my parents' house across town in my mind. The place where I had grown up. The place where everything had always made sense. I wasn't angry yet. I wasn't even scared. I was confused. And confusion is dangerous, because it makes you ask questions you can't take back. That night, I decided I would go see them. Not to accuse, not to confront, just to ask. One simple question. But before I could do that, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Dinner on Sunday. Don't forget." I stared at the screen, and for the first time in my life, I wondered if she already knew. I didn't tell Rachel I was going to my parents' house that night. Not because I wanted to hide it from her, but because saying it out loud would have made it real. And I wasn't ready for that yet. Their house looked the same as always. The porch light was on. The curtains were half drawn. My father's car was parked in the driveway. Normal. Too normal. I sat in my car for a full minute before getting out. My hands were shaking. Not violently, just enough to remind me that something inside me had shifted. My mother, Linda, opened the door before I knocked. She smiled when she saw me, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. "Ethan," she said, "you're early." I nodded. "I was nearby," I lied. Inside, everything smelled familiar. Dinner cooking, old furniture, the quiet hum of the refrigerator. I had walked through that hallway thousands of times. Tonight, it felt like I was trespassing. My father, Mark, was sitting at the kitchen table, reading something on his phone. He looked up when he heard my footsteps. "Hey," he said, "you staying for dinner?" There it was, the voice that had raised me, the man I had called Dad my entire life. I felt something twist in my chest. "Yeah," I said. "I just wanted to talk first." They exchanged a glance. It was quick, subtle, but I noticed it. We sat down. No one spoke for a moment. The silence stretched. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Each second felt loud. "I took one of those DNA tests," I said finally. I kept my voice calm, neutral, like I was talking about the weather. My mother froze. Not dramatically, just stopped moving. My father didn't say anything, didn't look surprised, didn't ask why. He just leaned back in his chair. For fun, I added quickly. Rachel got it for my birthday. Still nothing. I swallowed. And something came up, I said. Something that doesn't make sense. My mother turned off the stove. Slowly. Too carefully. Then she sat down across from me. What kind of thing? She asked. Her voice was steady. Too steady. I looked at my father. He was staring at the table now. Not at me. Not at my mother. Just the table. The results say, I continued, that I don't share DNA with you. I let the words hang in the air. They say, you're not my biological father. The silence that followed was heavier than anything I had ever felt. My mother's face went pale. My father stood up so abruptly his chair scraped against the floor. You had no right, he said. The words were sharp. Not loud, but angry. You had no right to take that test. I blinked. That wasn't what I expected. I didn't hear denial. I didn't hear confusion. I heard accusation. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, I said. You didn't think, he interrupted. That's the problem. You didn't think. My heart started pounding. So it's true, I asked quietly. He didn't answer. He just walked out of the kitchen. My mother covered her mouth with her hand. Her eyes were wet. Mom, I said. Please. She shook her head. I can't, she whispered. Not like this. I felt something crack inside me. Then how? I asked. When was I supposed to find out? She didn't answer. She stood up and followed my father down the hallway. I sat alone at the table. The clock kept ticking. Dinner burned on the stove. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I didn't belong in that house. A few minutes later, my father came back. He looked older, tired, like he'd been carrying something heavy for too long. Sit, he said. I was already sitting. He took a breath. Then another. This was never supposed to come out, he said. Not if, not when, never. My mother sat beside him. Her hands were shaking now. I'm so sorry, she said. I wanted to tell you. I really did. When? I asked. She didn't answer. My father spoke instead. I knew from the beginning, he said. The words hit harder than anything else that night. You knew, I repeated. He nodded. She told me before you were born. I felt dizzy. And you stayed? I asked. Yes, he said. I chose to. I didn't know whether to feel grateful or betrayed. So you raised me, I said, knowing I wasn't yours. Yes. Did he know? I asked. They both looked at me. Did my biological father know I existed? My mother shook her head. No, she said. He never knew. I laughed. A short, broken sound. So I was a secret, I said. No, my mother said quickly. You were our son. I looked at my father. He didn't correct her. He didn't agree either. This test, he said, it opened something that should have stayed closed. I stared at him. You mean the truth? He clenched his jaw. Sometimes, he said, the truth only destroys things. That was the moment I realized something important. They weren't afraid of losing me. They were afraid of losing the story they had built. I need time, my mother said softly. I think I do too, I replied. I stood up. Neither of them stopped me. At the door, I turned back. Was there ever a moment, I asked, when you planned to tell me? My father looked away. My mother started crying. That was my answer. I drove home in silence. Rachel was waiting for me. She took one look at my face and knew. They knew, she said. I nodded. And they're angry at me. That night, I didn't feel like a son. I felt like a mistake, problem, a secret that had lived too long. And I didn't yet understand that this was only the beginning. Thought knowing the truth would bring clarity. I was wrong. It didn't clarify anything. It multiplied the pain. The days after that night felt unreal. My parents didn't call. Not once. No message.
No apology. No explanation.
Just silence. The kind of silence that feels deliberate. Rachel kept asking if I was okay. I kept saying yes. That was a lie. I wasn't okay. I felt unanchored, like someone had taken my past and shaken it until nothing lined up anymore. Every memory replayed differently now. My father leaving the room when conversations got emotional. My mother avoiding old stories from before I was born. Family photos that never went too far back. Things I had accepted without question. Things that now felt calculated. After 3 days, my mother finally called. Her voice was soft, careful. "Ethan," she said, "I think we should talk." We met at a small cafe across town. Neutral ground. She arrived early. I could tell by the way she kept adjusting her scarf, even though it wasn't cold. "I didn't plan for you to find out like this," she said. "I didn't plan to find out at all," I replied. She flinched. She took a deep breath. "There's more," she said. I nodded. I was already bracing myself. She told me about a man named Daniel. She met him years before she met my father. It wasn't an affair. It wasn't some long-term relationship. It was one night, one decision, one mistake. "When I found out I was pregnant," she said, "I didn't know who the father was at first." Her voice cracked. "By the time I did, I was already married."
Is there here?
"And you chose not to tell him?" She nodded. "Yes." "Why?" I asked. She hesitated. Then she said the truth. "Because I was afraid." Afraid of what? Losing my father. Destroying the family. Being judged. Everything except losing me. "Mark gave me a choice," she continued. "He said he would raise you as his own. On one condition. That we never spoke of it again." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "So my entire life," I said slowly, "was built on an agreement." She shook her head.
No.
It was built on love. I wanted to believe that, but love doesn't require silence. "Did he ever resent me?" I asked. She looked down. "I don't know," she said. That answer hurt more than a yes. I asked about Daniel, where he lived, what he was like. She didn't know much, or she claimed she didn't. "All I know," she said, "is that he never knew about you." That night, I did something I wasn't sure I was ready for. I searched for him. It wasn't easy. The name was common, but the DNA test gave me something else. A match, a half-sibling. Her name was Emily. She was 2 years younger than me, and according to the site, she was my sister. My hands were shaking when I sent the message. I rewrote it 5 times. I didn't accuse. I didn't explain everything. I just said, "E." This might sound strange, but I think we might be related. She replied the next morning. "I was wondering when you'd reach out." That sentence stayed with me. When you'd reach out. Not if. We talked for hours. She was cautious but kind. She asked questions. I answered honestly. She told me about her father, about Daniel, a man who worked too much, who wasn't perfect, but who tried. "He always wanted a big family," she said. Something inside me twisted. After a week of messages, she asked something I had been afraid of. "Do you want to meet him?" I didn't answer right away, because part of me still hoped that my parents would fix this, that they would call, that they would choose me. Instead, I got a message from my aunt. Not a call. A message. "Your parents are very upset. You should give them space." Another one followed. Some things don't need to be uncovered. That's when it hit me. They weren't angry at the situation. They were angry at me. I replied to Emily. Yes, I said. I want to meet him. We met at a quiet park. Daniel arrived first. He stood up when he saw me, and then he froze. I would have known you anywhere, he said. His voice broke. I see it now, he cried. Immediately.
No hesitación. No confusión.
Just grief and relief. I never knew, he kept saying. I swear to you, I never knew. I believed him. In that moment, I believed him more than anyone else. We talked for hours. He asked about my life, my childhood, my dreams. He listened, really listened. When I got home, my phone was full of missed calls. From my parents. All at once. My father's voice message was short. You met him, didn't you? Not a question. An accusation. Yes, I replied. I didn't add anything else. The response came fast. You've crossed a line, as if the truth belonged to them. That night I understood something painful. My parents weren't afraid of losing me. They were afraid of being exposed. And once the truth started spreading, they chose their secret over their son. I didn't realize how fast a family can turn on you. Not with shouting, not with slammed doors, but with messages, silence, and other people speaking for them. The morning after I met Daniel, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Not from my parents, from relatives, people who hadn't checked on me in years. Suddenly, they had opinions. My Aunt Carol was the first to call. Her voice was tight, controlled. Your parents are devastated, she said. You need to understand what you've done. I didn't answer right away. What I've done? I asked. She sighed. You opened wounds that didn't need opening. Another call came from my uncle. Then a message from a cousin. Different words. Same meaning. Stop. Go back. Pretend nothing happened. No one asked how I felt. No one asked what it was like to find out your life was built on silence. They spoke as if I had broken something sacred, as if the lie mattered more than the person who lived inside it. That afternoon, my mother finally called. I almost didn't answer, but I did. She was crying. Not quietly, not gently. She was sobbing. Why are you doing this to us? She asked. The question stunned me. Doing what? I said. Talking to him, she replied. Letting people know. I didn't tell anyone, I said. She didn't believe me. It's spreading, she said. People are talking. I closed my eyes. This was always going to come out, I said. It just wasn't supposed to be like this. That's the point, she said sharply. It wasn't supposed to come out at all. There it was. Clear. Undeniable. I didn't mean to hurt you, I said. I know, she replied. But you did. Then she added something that broke me. You should have protected the family. I felt my throat tighten. I am your family, I said. There was a pause. A long one. I don't know what you are anymore, she whispered. After that call, something inside me shut down. Not anger, not sadness, just exhaustion. That night, Rachel asked if I wanted to go to dinner. I said no. I didn't want noise. I didn't want distractions. I wanted to sit with the truth. And the truth was this. My parents weren't confused. They weren't processing. They had made a decision. The next confirmation came 2 days later. A message in the family group chat. Given everything that's going on, it's best if Ethan doesn't attend Sunday dinner for now.
No explanación.
No discussion. Just a statement. I stared at the screen. Rachel read it over my shoulder. They uninvited you, she said. I nodded. They didn't even say my name, I replied. I typed a response. deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. What do you say when you're quietly erased? Sunday came anyway. I drove past my parents' house without stopping. The lights were on. Cars in the driveway. Laughter through the windows. Life continuing. Without me. I pulled over down the street, sat there, and realized something I hadn't let myself think before. They weren't grieving. They were relieved, because now the problem was gone. The reminder, the evidence, the living proof. Daniel texted me that night. "How are you holding up?" he asked. I didn't know how to answer, so I told him the truth. "I think I lost my family." He called immediately, not to fix anything, not to give advice, just to listen. "I know it doesn't feel like it," he said, "but you didn't lose them." "What do you mean?" I asked. "They walked away," he said quietly. "There's a difference." A few days later, my father finally reached out. A single message. "We need to set boundaries." Boundaries, the word people use when they want distance without guilt. We met at his office. Neutral, professional, like a negotiation. He didn't hug me, didn't ask how I was. He got straight to the point. "You involving Daniel complicates things," he said. "I didn't involve him," I replied. "He's my biological father." He flinched, just slightly. "You are my son," he said firmly. "But not when it's inconvenient," I said. His jaw tightened. "This family exists because of choices we made," he said. "You don't get to rewrite that." "I'm not rewriting anything," I replied. "I'm reading what was already written." He leaned forward. "If you continue this," he said, "you will lose people." I met his eyes. "I already have." That was the end of the conversation.
No shouting. No closure.
Just distance sealed politely. The final blow came from my mother. A letter, handwritten, old-fashioned. She wrote about love, about sacrifice, about how raising me had been the hardest and best thing she'd ever done. Then she wrote one sentence that changed everything. "If you keep choosing him, we can't be part of your life anymore." Choosing him, as if love were a competition, as if truth were betrayal. I folded the letter, put it back in the envelope, and understood something clearly for the first time. They had chosen the lie, and they would protect it at any cost. That night, I told Rachel everything. She listened, held my hand, didn't interrupt. "I'm scared," I admitted. "Of what?" she asked. "That if they can walk away so easily," I said. "Maybe they never really accepted me." She squeezed my hand. "Or maybe," she said, "they accepted you only as long as you played the role." I went to bed knowing one thing. The family I grew up with was gone. And in its place, there was nothing but silence. The silence didn't end all at once. Faded, like a sound slowly being turned down. First, I checked my phone constantly. Every vibration made my chest tighten. Every notification made me hope. But none of them were from my parents. Days turned into weeks, then weeks into something heavier. Acceptance. I stopped driving past their house. Stopped checking the family group chat. Stopped waiting. Not because it didn't hurt, but because waiting hurts more. Rachel stayed. That mattered more than she probably knew. She never pushed me to talk. Never told me to move on. She just stayed. Daniel didn't try to replace anyone. He didn't call himself my father. He let me decide what he was to me. And somehow, that meant everything. We met often. Coffee. Walks. Long conversations that filled in gaps I never knew existed. He told me about his life, his mistakes, the things he would have done differently. One evening, he showed me an old photo album. Pictures of Emily growing up. Birthdays. Holidays. moments I had never been part of. I felt jealous, then ashamed for feeling that way. You're allowed to grieve what you didn't get, he said. Those words unlocked something in me. Emily and I grew closer, slowly, carefully. She didn't treat me like a stranger. She treated me like someone who had always been missing. The first holiday without my parents was the hardest. Thanksgiving. Rachel and I hosted. Daniel and Emily came. The table was smaller, quieter, but real. Halfway through dinner, Daniel raised his glass. To honesty, he said, and second chances. My throat tightened. Later that night, when everyone had gone home, I sat alone in the kitchen. The house smelled like food and warmth. And something else. Peace. That's when my phone buzzed. A message from my father. The first in months. I hope you're well. Nothing else.
No epalegi. No imbetaschen.
Just a sentence. I stared at it for a long time. This was it. The door barely cracked open. On their terms. I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. In the end, I wrote, I am. I hope you are too. And I meant it. Because I wasn't angry anymore. Anger ties you to people who hurt you. I didn't want that. A few weeks later, my mother sent another letter. Shorter this time. She wrote that she missed me. That things were complicated. That maybe one day. She didn't say sorry. Not really. She said she did what she thought was best. I folded the letter. Didn't cry. Didn't feel relief. Just clarity. Some truths don't reunite families. They expose them. I learned that love based on silence isn't love. It's control. The DNA test didn't ruin my family. It revealed it. I lost people I thought would never leave. But I gained people who never had the chance to stay. If I could go back, would I still take the test? Yes, every time. Because living a lie is quieter. But living the truth, even when it costs you everything, is the only way to know who really stands with you. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe my parents will reach out again. Maybe they won't. But this time, the choice won't be made for me. My name is Ethan, and this is the story of how I lost my family and found myself.